writing a story before there's one. From the day you arrive, till you walk, till you run. There's nothing but pride. There's nothing but love. And that's the story of love. Ladies and gentlemen, like in any relationships, we avoid talking about our exes, our old arguments. Similarly, in Toastmasters, we avoid talking on topics of sex, religion, and politics. We here at Toastmasters avoid using the middle line. So kindly make sure that this is off limits. Now, to take this magical evening to the next level, we have a Toastmaster with us. Now, he's completed his master's in mathematics. He's been programmer in the government industry for the past 8 years. Very strong, confident young man, romantic. Okay. Now, he first met his true love, or better half, through embraced, and he graced himself before her, in front of her, in front of her, then in our office, with a bouquet of the most beautiful flowers. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask, because love is a
I'm literally blushing actually. Ladies and gentlemen, very good evening to you all. Good evening. With that positive note, let me declare the meeting number 1258 open. Before I proceed, I request our secretary, Toastmaster Kamlesh, to read out the minutes of the last meeting.
Good evening, everyone. So it's my pleasure to present the highlights of the last meeting. The last meeting started exactly on time, and best part of the meeting was the theme, which is success is not learn, it is earn, and it was exemplified by the president Toastmaster by his personal stories. And the best player of the tag team player was Toastmaster Barsa. Best speaker of the evening was Toastmaster Alo. Best evaluator Toastmaster Teja, and best evaluator, best TMOD was Alan Aram, and best table topic speaker Vivek Vijay. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Kamlesh. Members, can you pass the minutes, please? Thank you so much. Yes, yes. Yes, please. Okay. So with that note, I declare the minutes of the last meeting passed. Love, faith, and forgiving others are the very three ingredients we need to have a better life. So love is one of the very good emotions to convey our messages. But at any cost, we should not integrate love, the emotion with ourselves. We ourselves and emotions are two separate entities. The moment, always, emotion should not be supported with external factors. The moment it is influenced by external factors, it starts creating the problems. And the forgiveness, the more we forgive, suppose the more we hate, it kind of saps our positive energy. If we just start forgiving others, our life will be filled with sublime joy. Let me tell you an example. I used to hate my dad like anything a few years back. And because of this, in my house, the atmosphere was very bad. I used to get angry for everything. And one day I realized, this is not going to work out. Let me come out of it. And I started accepting my dad as he is. However he was, forget it. It doesn't mean that I've completely forgotten whatever the past what I'm trying to say is, I'm not carrying forward all this past. I thought my dad is old, let me take care of him. It is my very responsibility to take care of my dad. Few years back, my dad was hospitalized, diagnosed for the cardiac problem, and doctor told he has to undergo bypass surgery immediately. And we took him to the Manipal Hospital Airport Road. He was admitted, and we got a deluxe ward there. Ward was fantastic. It was like it was furnished ward. The next day is the operation, and so many visitors start visiting my dad and conveying their messages and other things. One of my friends, he came to me and told, "Hey, Ayappa, why you are putting deluxe ward, man? Because it's a pain. You have to take care of everything. Nobody will come. You'll have a nightmare. Better to take the general ward." This is what I did for my mom. You want to undergo that pain? I was really shocked. He's so rich guy because of his parents' earnings and savings. He is what he is today. I did not tell anything to him. I just nodded. Oh, really? And fortunately, my dad underwent the operation and he's perfectly all right now. He's 85 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a common problem we are facing in our society now. We don't want to take, many of the children, they don't want to take care of their parents. They say that my son is in US, Australia, Germany, and the two old parents, just holding their walking stick and just surviving. It's very important for everybody to take care of old age parents and show them, love and respect. That's very important. That is what is missing today. To take the meeting further, we have a gentleman amongst us. He's been with Bangalore Toastmasters Club for the last 5+ years. And he's one of the very prominent members of the club. I still remember some of his speeches still resonates in my mind. Very funny and witty guy. And all of a sudden he took a year and a half break to pursue his higher studies in Ireland. Again, he came back with a josh and joined Bangalore Toastmasters Club. Without further ado, please put your hands together. Welcome on stage, the Toastmaster of the day, the MC of this evening, Toastmaster Mahavir Jain.
I love you all. Can we have this game? I say something and you lift it up. All right, everybody with me? Yes. Yeah? Yes. I love you. I love you. I can't hear your voice. Come on, Toastmaster, be game. Thank you. I love you. I love you. Love you too, man. I love you.
Love you too.
Love you. All right, so just get the energy a little bit up and going. I would request all the Toastmasters to stand up. Just free yourselves. We're going to do a little bit of dancing here, all right? So, are you all ready? Cool. You can do any move you want. Just enjoy. You can close your eyes. Enjoy your performance. All right, let's have a huge round of applause for all three. What is love? Why does the entire world go behind love? And how are we impacted by love from the very young age? Let me tell you my story, my love story. I was 18 when I actually walked into this club, and I was very scared to actually talk in front of people. And I was very at that time. 18, 19, 20, 21. And these 4 years of my life, trying out new things every day and not having audience respond. But you guys responded. Audience respond, but just trying out, that helped me a lot. So when I went abroad, I did my master's there, studied there 1 year in UCD, University College Dublin. And after which I was looking for work, and guess what? My love for public speaking actually helped me out to get a job. So I was working for a marketing company wherein I had to speak to customers regularly every single day, and I had to close a sales deal. So that's my story, and then helped me out in many other interviews. But we all have one part of ourselves where we have different love story, that is our better half, right? How many of you have been in true love? Can you raise your hands, please? Great. Can you turn to the person next to you and just narrate your story? You got 30 seconds. Any kind of love. All right, so 30 seconds done. Abhay, you want to share a story? No?
Story is just begun.
Story is just begun. Are you engaged?
Yes.
Congratulations. All right. So what is love? Is it love between father and son, like Ayappa was saying, or is it love between a small kid when you have a mother has a baby, just looking into her eyes? Or love is when you hold your girlfriend's hand and walk around? What is love? What is love according to you, Kanaka? Karunaka? No words. Love is blind. All right. So love, there have been generations and generations writing about love, different love stories. In every movie you go to, if you've seen the recent movie, Tamil movie Master, there's always a woman who is actually inspiring that person to go on adventure and do all sorts of things. So love has been eternal, and love has been with us. And we all first have to start loving ourselves, and then we get to love everybody around us. So let me tell you about this one great person who started off Toastmasters in 1924, Ralph C. Smedley. He was very passionate about public speaking. He wanted to continue his legacy. So he started this movement, and now it is expanded to over 185 countries, and there are about 16,200 clubs. So that's the number of clubs, and we have around 364,000 members. So that love for public speaking is inspiring us even today to have a fantastic meeting of Toastmasters. To carry this meeting forward, we have a very special person who is a great mentor at his work. He's given speeches not just in India, but in the US as well. He's spoken in front of 500 people for an hour about India, which is a great achievement. And he's been with Bangalore Toastmasters Club for the longest of the time. Put your hands up for one and only Toastmaster Umakant, who's the general evaluator.
Mr. Toastmaster, my role as a general evaluator is going to be that I will be evaluating this whole meeting from the time it started to the time we finish. To the time I come to the stage, I will be evaluating, and I'll also be evaluating the evaluators who are going to evaluate the speech. And at the end of this meeting, I will be giving my report. Okay, when I'm called upon. Okay, I have my team consists of Kirtana, who's the accounter. Kirtana, speak about your role.
Good evening, dear Toastmasters and guests. I'm the accountant for today, and I'll be noting down very carefully all the clutch words, pauses that you use. That's and the repetitive words that you use, like that, that's like that, and something like that. When I'm called upon the stage by the general evaluator at the end of the meeting, I'll give my report to you all. Thank you.
So I have the timer, Sri, if you could speak about your role, Sri.
Yeah, good evening, Toastmasters. As a timer, it is my duty to note and record the time duration of entire meeting as well as the speeches. So today's speeches 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, I will show the green card. 6 minutes, I will show the yellow card, and 7 minutes, I will show the red card. And the table topics are for 1 to 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I will show again green card, and 1.5 minutes, I will show a yellow card, and 2 minutes, I will show red card. And at the end of the meeting, I will submit my report to general. Thank you.
The most important role, we have the grammarian Toastmaster Achyuta, if you could spell out your role.
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. As the grammarian for today, it is my responsibility to introduce the word of the day, which is enchant. It means to fill someone up with charm or attract or please someone to a great extent. An example for the usage would be the people were enchanted by the dancer's great performance. And it is also my role to make note of good usage of sayings, and as such, and I'll be giving over my report to the general evaluator at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster. All to be Toastmaster of the day. Let's have an enchanting meeting today.
Thank you, Toastmaster Martha. So typical Toastmaster meeting is divided into evaluation session. So we're going to start off with prepared speech session. To start the first project, may I request Toastmaster Joe Cole to just read out the guidelines.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. The purpose of this project is for the member to present a speech on any topic, receive feedback from the evaluator, and apply the feedback to a second speech. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. So the first project is Presentation Mastery Level 1. The Toastmaster is going to come up here. He's very passionate about coding. And how many of you consider yourself privileged to be born and brought up in Bangalore? And my dear Toastmaster, he considers himself very, very lucky to be a Bangalorean. And he is in love. I'll let him tell you his love story at some point. Give it up for one and only Toastmaster Akhilesh.
October 2nd last year, on the eve of Gandhi Jayanti, I did two things. First, I gave my first ever speech in Toastmasters. Second, I lied to my wife that I gave the best blockbuster speech. Good evening, Good evening. Today I want to share my experience of icebreaker speech. In Toastmasters, the start or the hardest part for any Toastmasters to start their journey. And today, I share my experience in 3 letters, PPF. Definitely not the Public Provident Fund. So the first P, preparation. Toastmaster Srijal called me on September 12th and told me, in our club, we will be conducting an icebreaker marathon on October 2nd. The icebreaker marathon was supposed to be to give an opportunity for all the new Toastmasters to start their journey by giving a speech. I was delighted to be part of it. I had 20 due to some circumstances and my procrastination habit. I postponed my preparation to just 2 hours before the start of the meeting. I thought to myself whether I need to call Srijal and request him to cancel or postpone my speech to a different date. But then I decided to go ahead and presented whatever the little preparation I did. I certainly failed in my preparation. So the next P, presentation. I joined the meeting well in time. I was as nervous as someone could be. Unfortunately, the meeting was online back then. And when I looked at the screen, all the lovely team members were looking like super villains to me that day. I was the third speaker that day, and the first two speakers gave a very marvelous speech. And I got even more nervous and pressurized back then. All sorts of things were running in my mind, like, what if I forget a few lines in the speech? Or what do other team members think of me if I give the speech, etc. There's a proverb in Kannada language, Biso danne tappiskondre savira varsha ayisu, which literally means, if you escape from a stick being waved at you, you live 1,000 years. I just thought to myself, if I escape this speech today, I can do much better in the future. Finally, the Toastmaster of the day called my name. I stood up in front of the screen with butterflies in my stomach. I forgot the opening line of the speech. I just continued with whatever I could remember that day and somehow completed my speech. And after the speech, I just sat down with a little bit of disgrace, thinking for the whole meeting, how did the speech go? So I failed in my presentation. Finally, the last part of PDF, feedback. I think it was a boon for all the role takers of tag team that day, because I exceeded my time limit. I made the most grammatical errors. I used a lot of crutch words and I used a lot of filler sounds. But my speech evaluator, Toastmaster Smita Roshi, and DTM Sumitra Manmohan, who was the general evaluator, gave a very generous positive feedback, which was encouraging to me. So even though I failed in the speech, the evaluators didn't fail me. So the speech was concluded. After the speech, I sat a little bit with depressing, thinking about how I could have definitely done better in my speech. And there was one more person, my wife, sitting in the other room, waiting for my response and how my speech went. Finally, I got a message beep on my phone, and the message went like this. Akhilesh, your speech was exceptional today. You gave a blockbuster speech. Your body language, your confidence levels, your positive energy, and your openness and warmth radiated from you like sunbeams, warming our hearts. May you ascend to higher and higher levels of speech glories. By the vocabulary, some of the Toastmasters might have understood it was from Sureka ma'am. For first, I thought whether Sureka ma'am by mistake sent that message to me. Then I saw my name was mentioned in the message, so I felt a little bit lighter in my heart. I just rushed to my wife and showed my message. See, I gave a best speech. And my wife was surprised, but nobody could challenge Sumitra ma'am's words. The day was over, but the problem was not. I joined Toastmasters to overcome the fear of public speaking. And after my first speech, actually the fear grew a little more. After that speech, I didn't give a speech for 4 months because I was afraid I might fail again. Then I saw fellow Toastmasters who joined along with me, presenting speech after speech with improvements. That reminded me what our President Ayyappa said during the orientation program of the new joining members. Bangalore Toastmasters Club is a platform to experiment with your speech and ideas. It doesn't matter if you fail. You can always go back, rework, improve, and come back again, presenting much better next time. So I decided, going forward, I will present the speeches, get the feedback, incorporate that feedback in the next speech, improve a little, and repeat this cycle. So I was not afraid. So I'm not afraid of failing in my speeches anymore because with such a big support, with such a big and strong support system in Bangalore Toastmasters Club, you'll never fail. You'll just learn and grow. Back to Toastmasters.
Thank you for that enchanting speech. For the next speech, we have Pathway Level 2 on Communication Style. May I request Toastmaster Mahesh Shankar to just read out the guidelines, please?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. The purpose of this project is for the member to learn about different communication styles and identify his or her primary style. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share the impact of his or her styles on others. The speech duration time is 5 to 7 minutes. I wish you a good luck. Thanks.
Communication is the key for good relationship. How many of you agree with me? And communication is also the key to make a business great. How many of you agree with me? So this individual has turned the business from 6 crores to 56 crores in a span of 3 years. He's not just that, he's the vice president in one of the tech companies right now, and it's all because of communications. Let me tell you about his love story. He has 4 females in his life. Not 1, not 2, not 3, 4. Daughter, grandma, mom, wife, yeah. So to learn more about his communication skills and tonality, let's give it up for one and only Toastmaster Guru Prasad.
Every person on this planet Earth has his own unique fingerprints. How many of you agree for it? So great. Each member has got a distinct style of their communication. Ladies and gentlemen, very good evening. Good evening. I am from the city of Destiny, Visakhapatnam. We all grown watching movies and reading film magazines more than any textbooks. Once upon a time, I was a huge fan of Sai Kumar. Without watching him, I became a fan of him because of his voice and communication style. Then there was an influence of superstars like Chiranjeevi and Rajnikant on me. I started imitating their communication style. It did not work. Then I understood, Guru, why don't you pick up your own way of communication style? Then started thinking, my friend Vijayanand always says, different strokes, different folks. I said other ways, different folks, different strokes. So everybody cannot have the same communication style. They have to have a different communication style for different relationship. Do you agree or not? Yes. Yes. So I started developing my own style of communication. I am a sales guy. Before that, I'm a straightforward guy. People may laugh at me, how a sales guy and a straightforwardness. But still, coming to my family and my friends, I want to be honest. I want to make them more feel how I feel, more feel how I think, so that I always keep my guard little down when I deal with my family or with my friends, to build healthier relationships with them. So I always feel family first. I normally adopt the direct style of communication with the family. Then coming to my sales, I'm a salesperson. If I don't know how to I used to confuse them. Tracking background. Once I started growing up the ladder, my expectations also grow up like a mountain. The expectation where I have to become more customer centric. So I have to understand my customer better. I need to focus on my customer. Then I started adopting the initiative style of communication to become more proactive and also to understand the customer, and thinking that the customer first. And the success weapon for any successful guy, maybe the secret weapon you may call, is like to adopt the initiative style of communication, which will help you to become a better salesperson. Going forward, at current scenario, I'm the vice president for a staffing organization. I cannot go and have to become more little analytical. As our friend Vivek Vijayan always tell, data is new oil. So I went to a filling station to fill more oil, to become more analytical, to take right decisions at the right time, so that my stakeholders or my customers are happy with my decisions. That is where I feel my business first. And finally, last but not the least, I have to adopt a support to style. As I grew up in the ladder, I became a business consultant, where my businesses or the companies or the individuals. So I felt it's better to understand, adopt a supportive style of communication. So if you look at the overall thing, I've started adopting a hybrid model, starting from direct initiative, then later on of more of business first analytical, then finally on the supportive model. Finally, I would like to tell one thing. It is key for all the relationships. What we all need today. For that, I believe the family first, the business first, the customer first, and finally, the people first. Thank you very much. Over to Emily.
People first, Guru Prasad. Next, we have level 4, pathway second speech. May I request Toastmaster Abhay Kothari, please read the guidelines.
The speakers level 4 has said it's called Create a Podcast. And the purpose statements of this project is for the member to be introduced to the skills needed to organize and present a podcast, and for the member to introduce his or her podcast and present to the audience a segment of the is in 2 ways. Podcast program, but the seats are requested that you give a ding at 10 minutes and at 12 minutes. Over to you.
Thank you. Every time you listen to him, you take something out of his speech. He's inspired many of us from the very start and to the very end. It's been almost a couple of years that I'm with Toastmasters, and every time I hear him speak, he inspires. He's given a TED Talk, and those TED Talk, the inspiring words, inspire people to do great stuff. Secondly, he's won a national award from the President of India. Today, he'll be giving a podcast, which is, or how effectively you can give a podcast. He's going to narrate a speech on that. So to have a better listening experience, may I request the Sergeant at Arms to just switch off the lights? Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for an amazing experience which will impact you and take you to a whole new world possible. And tell Dr. Rajdeep Manwani is going to tell his love story as well. So give it up for one and only Toastmaster Rajdeep Manwani.
Thank you so much, Mahavir, for that wonderful introduction. I'm going to give you a podcast. So I'm recording this podcast. So we'll start off with the podcast straight away. As you all know, a podcast is a listening experience. So let me start off with the podcast. Dear listeners, welcome to the Story Glory podcast, a podcast which comes to you every tidbits from around the world, stories that energize, stories that educate. And today's episode is dedicated to that beautiful feeling called love. Remember, all of y'all have that mushy feeling in your heart called love. Somebody has so beautifully said, love is sweet, love is painful, love is energizing, but love is hurtful. As one of my friends always used to tell me, if you have loved and not got hurt, either you've been very lonely or you've been very lucky. Now, I'm going to narrate to you in this podcast a very, very interesting story which happened in the 1930s. So put your seat belts and welcome to this wonderful podcast called Story Glory with your host, Rajdeep Manwani. Here goes the story. The train from Duncanville to Scottsboro started chugging along. The clouds of smoke went in the air. In one small compartment sat a middle-aged lady, Margaret, who was in her 50s. She was a little plump, but had a very kind face. Opposite her sat a man in his late 20s, who was called Charles. He had ruffled hair, a torn jacket. He had lines on his face, and he seemed to be very, very worried. He kept looking out of the window. He looked at his feet, he looked at his hands, and seemed to be shuffling all the time. Margaret looked at Charles and said, "Sonny, you seem to be..." Charles looked out of the window and said, "Yes, there's something which is troubling me. Because today, the fate of my life has to be decided." She said, What fate? Charles replied, "My story started 7 years back. I was owned by a very old and very, very nice man called Robin. I used to help him out in grazing the goats, milking the cows. And he also had a beautiful apple orchard at the edge of his farm with around 20 apple trees. which were just adjacent to the railway station and passed by the railway tracks. And in that apple orchard was a beautiful girl called Susan, who worked as an apple picker. She used to pick apples, and I used to just look at her. Her hair was like gold. Her eyes were as deep as the ocean. Her face was that of an angel. And I just looked, and she used to blush a little. But I didn't get the courage to go up and ask her name or speak to her. But then one day something miraculous happened. As she was picking up the apples, the wind blew away the white silk ribbon on her hair, and it came towards me. I picked up the white ribbon and went up and gave it to her. That was the dawn of our love. She smiled and blushed. I chased the railway track and just sweet nothings to each other. We were so deeply in love with each other that one day when she asked me to help her polish the apples and keep them in a basket, I was gazing at her and I just kept picking up pebbles, stones, along with the apples, grass. And she was also so lost in me that she kept keeping it in her basket. I remember once she had asked me, "Do you know, Charles, what does Susan mean?" And I had replied, "I don't know what Susan means." That was the extent to which we had fallen in love. And one day, I took the courage. I took the very white silk from her hair, knelt down and said, of her life. After that, the ceremony started. The old farmer Robin was so happy to learn that we were getting married, and he said, "I'm giving you all that apple orchard of 10 trees which are next to the railway tracks and adjacent to the railway station, so that you all can take care of it and live a new life." We got married. Days were so beautiful. But everything doesn't reveal. I remember I was drunk, and the country tavern bully, Smith, came up to me and said, "Hey, Charles, what man, new wife, new apple orchard, want to share some beer? Want to share some apples with us? Want to share your wife?" And I was absolutely frustrated with the way he spoke to me. I was very angry. And he continued hurling filthy abuses to me and my wife. I couldn't bear it any longer. I took the beer bottle, broke it, and threw it at him. Unfortunately, the bottle broke near his chest. The bottle pierced his heart. There was blood all. He could realize Smith had died. The police came and they took me off. They took me to the nearest court, that was Duncanville. Susan was hysterical. The judge was very, very kind. I know this is not purposeful. 10 years imprisonment. I was shattered. Susan sobbed and sobbed. As I was being taken away to the jail, I spoke to Susan. I said, "Susan, I know I'm going to be away for 7 years. I don't want you to be called the wife of a murderer. Please start life afresh. However, if you feel that you still love me after 7 years and I come back, please tie a white ribbon of our love on the apple tree, which is adjacent to the railway station, next to the to continue life with me. But if I don't see any ribbon, I will not stop at Scottsboro and live a life alone. Charles looked at Margaret and said, today is the day which will decide whether I will live a life alone or will Susan accept me. I cannot bear the tension. Margaret was also tense as she looked out into the skyline. Every cloud seemed like that white ribbon. The train passed and it stood at a station called Bradwell. Charles looked at her and said, only 2 more hours to decide my fate. The train chugged along. It passed a tunnel. Charles looked at Margaret and said, only 1 more hour to decide my fate. Minutes seemed like hours. Every single minute that passed, Charles was getting tenser and tenser. As the train chugged along, Charles said, now the train is going to pass the valley and it's going to reach near the apple tree stands. I cannot bear the tension any longer. Margaret, can you look out of the train and see whether there is a white ribbon tied on the apple tree? The train passed the valley. It turned near the railway track. Margaret looked out the Charles asked, do you see a white ribbon on the apple tree? Margaret said, Sonny, I don't see 1 white ribbon on the apple tree. But I see thousands of white ribbons on every single branch of the apple trees in that orchard. As the train stopped, Charles got out of the station to see his love Susan, the same beautiful Susan with her beautiful face. They didn't laugh, they didn't cry, but there was a tear in Margaret's eye. Remember, love is patient and love gives you so much more. So today's story talked about how one single love lasted for 7 years with those beautiful white ribbons. Today, express your love with those white ribbons. And don't forget to tune into this podcast, the Story Glory podcast, Friday, 6:30. Podcast. The episodes at Spotify and at the Apple Podcast. Thank you very, very much.
Don't forget to tune in to the podcast and you will get inspired to find your own love story. Now we'll have a 10-minute break where you can talk to people, make friends, and you might find lovers as well. You know, they say that love happens randomly, so best of luck. It's 7:21 now. I'll see you all sharp 7:31, all right?
One more.
Can we complete the conversation of the meeting, please? Toastmasters and guests, can you please be seated? Now we're going to have the most exciting session. Everyone's still eating. How are the sandwiches? How is the sweet? Awesome. So we have to acknowledge this person who's giving his sandwiches, sweets, and all kinds of goodies every single week. Who is it? Let's have a give it around. This is the most exciting session of the meeting because here you're given a topic and you have to speak. You got to speak for at least a minute. This Toastmaster loves traveling. How many of you have been to 10 countries around the world? Of course, around the world. Can you please raise your hand? 5 countries? 20 countries? 10 states? Well, 2. Well, this Toastmaster, he loves traveling around the world. It could be he's a corporate lawyer by profession. Most of us love to have or want to have, that is confidence. So give it up for one and only Toastmaster Aaron.
Thank you everyone and good evening.
Good evening.
Are you all ready for an absolutely enchanting table topic session? Give me a yes.
Yes.
Just to clarify, even I haven't been to 20 states. I would love to.
No, 20 countries.
No, Toastmaster Vijay made a very valid point that people haven't even been to 20 states, neither have I really want to. It's just that I've found a way of traveling on a shoestring budget. So if any of you all want to see some nice places on a shoestring budget, happy to help, get in touch. There's a lot to see, a lot of culture to experience. But thank you for the introduction, Toastmaster Marvin. Ladies and gentlemen, you all want to take a shot at guessing or thinking about what, since we have love, as the theme, and we're heading into a Valentine's Day weekend, and this entire session about love and happiness and positivity. What were you all doing the last Valentine's Day weekend? Can you all think someone want to say something exciting? Okay, I'm very sorry to hear that. Are you better spirits? I'm sure. Hopefully the session will make you more positive about it. Okay. I had a lovely Valentine's Day last year. Lovely, brilliant. I definitely wasn't crying. I was ecstatic. I had a 3-hour session. Before exactly. Now don't let your minds get ahead of you. I got inducted. I made a lifelong commitment to the Bangalore Toastmasters Club last Valentine's Day. So in a way, this weekend marks my 1-year Valentine's Day anniversary here, and I'm very excited to be a table topic master for the session. Now, table topics. Why table topics, right? Table topics is something. This is one of the most exciting parts of the meeting, personally, and I'm sure for you all as well. What we want to focus on is challenging you to develop impromptu speaking skills and to effectively think on your feet, right? For those of you who are not very familiar, haven't taken part before, the object of the session is to help you primarily with four things, right? 4 parts of communication. Listening, listen to the topic, understand the topic. Thinking, think on your feet. Little to no prep time. Organizing, structuring your speech to meet the time and put across what you want to say. And ultimately speaking, delivering your message within the prescribed time. The time for the session, each speaker gets 2 minutes. So timer, the first at 1 minute, the second at 1.5, and final call at 2 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme for today is happiness. We've spoken about love. We've heard a lovely, absolutely brilliant and enchanting story about love, lessons from the past. So I wanted to focus, when framing these topics, I wanted to focus on love, happiness, positivity. So please smile. There are a lot of positive things to say. Even if you were crying last year, there's something positive that happened in 1 year, at least, that you can ponder over and interest in and reminisce over. So he was crying last year because he's crying. So with that, we're going to have our first table topic. The topic that we start with. Valentine's Day, Cupid or commercialism? Valentine's Day, Cupid. For that, Toastmaster Alok Simha, please.
One of those times when I'm not actually enchanted by the topic. Cupid or commercialism, I would have not experienced either. And when I start thinking about this, I think it's the Cupid that brings forth the commercialism in Valentine's Day. As I start thinking on my feet, let me just explain. Maybe love is what is commercialized on Valentine's Day, because that is that one day where people are goaded to express their love. And that is when the commercialism, the marketing aspect of it comes out. When
you are a gift to your loved one, or when you are expected to just make that attempt so that the love is reciprocated. Maybe that's when everything starts. And obviously, to do that, you need to have something in your pocket. I mean, I mean to say your wallet. and that is when Cupid starts getting commercialized. Maybe he's not out there trying to spread love. Maybe he's just trying to see that you've got enough money in your pocket, and he's going to get richer by the end of the day. And I think I've completed 1.5 minutes there, Srijan. Yes, not yet completed 1.5 minutes. Now I have. So that is what I feel. On a more serious note, I believe Cupid and commercialism counterbalance each other on Valentine's Day. Though I do not think commercialism would not exist without the Cupid, but because there is Cupid, there is definitely commercialism. That's my take on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Alok. With Cupid, there comes commercialism, and I do certainly personally agree with that, for sure. The next topic that we have is cinema or conversation with a loved one. Cinema or conversation with a loved one.
Cinema or a conversation? Excruciating boring, talking about it, making fun of it. I personally feel that the best thing to do is take an atrociously bad horror movie. That's not even scary. All right, and try to scare your loved one by bringing in the element of fear. Yeah, I personally feel that the best movie watching experience is when you take an extremely bad movie or extremely boring movie and then make fun of the movie with your friends or with your loved ones, and that's the way to have fun. Like there are some movies, like for example Inception, that require a certain level of focus to just understand what's going on. But there's many of the Hindi movies that we have, it's just a film to have fun and enjoy. So you take your loved ones out, you take your friends out, go watch a movie, have a laugh, right, have dinner, and go back home. So I think it's both. Watching a movie together and making fun of it together. So you need to have conversation as well as cinema.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jen. I'm definitely making most of the evening, combining both in it. Next topic. If you had to choose, celebrating Children's Day age 10 or celebrating Valentine's Day age 30. Celebrating Children's Day age 10 or celebrating Valentine's Day age 30. Toastmaster, come
Celebrating Children's Day at 10 and celebrating Valentine's Day at 30. So difficult task, so because at the time of 10, you could not imagine that what would have happened after 30 years. But each of the age is important in the life. Whether you are celebrating your Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever. But one thing is important, that enjoy your time. And I think why we are celebrating Valentine's Day, it reminds, I have read recently that in the US or even in Western culture, people don't have time to celebrate. People don't have a time to meet together. But in India, you can say that every day is a Valentine's Day, every day is a Mother Day, isn't it? And that is why we have more commercialized today, what Alok was saying. But what I feel most important, that you can make your day very special, and that we are here to celebrate each of the day, whether it is offline, online. Toastmasters are always celebrated. So each day that you are celebrating is precious to us. Thank you.
Given a choice, I also like to celebrate both, no matter what age. Something to continue from here. The childlike laughter in us is only masked, not gone. The childlike laughter in us is merely masked, not gone. For that, can I have Toastmaster Vinay?
If I put it right, the childlike laughter is only masked,
not gone.
Not gone.
It's still in us, it hasn't gone.
It's still in us and it hasn't gone. That's much simpler, and I understand it now. The very fact that they say we never grow up, we're all children inside, is very similar to what you just said. And I would say that one does not lose out on all those little qualities that a child has in them. As I say, at the age of innocence, children are the symbol of innocence. We are all innocent to an extent. Will we get our things in place and start dealing with the world outside? Not going on a different tangent. I'm not sure what I can talk more about this topic. Just I would like to conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vinay. I'm sure in all the seriousness, there's still laughter in all of us, certainly coming out in this session. So please keep laughing, keep smiling. Next up, the topic is the quality in me that has changed the most. If you see the session, the theme, love happens all the time but changes with time. What quality in me has changed the most over time? Can I have Chetan with us, who's a guest today? The quality in me that has changed the most.
Good evening, everyone present here. Let me give a small introduction about myself. My name is Chetan Patel, and this is the first time I'm addressing a public like this. So it's a big thing for me. I'm so proud of myself. Today marks the beginning of a beautiful journey, and I'm so excited to learn among everyone here. So coming to the topic, one quality in me that has changed, right? Changed the most. And that would be to love someone truly and from the bottom of my heart. So I didn't know what true love was until I met my partner 6 months back. So I'm engaged now and I'm getting married this year. So before that, I didn't know how to love a person truly. So it was very difficult for me to have a good communication with my relationships in the past. But everything changed 6 months back when I found my partner, when I found my soulmate. And I think that is one quality which has changed a lot in me, and I'm very happy about it. Thank
you. Thank you, Chetan, and we're very happy for you having met your partner. Taking a step back now, my idea of a perfect date, please keep it PG-10. Toastmaster Karma.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Idea of a perfect day in the context of a love should be regular. Amen. Yeah, it's more like I'm giving them options to choose love. Since the beginning of the day to the end of the day, you can actually be immersed in love. But please keep your thoughts on the ground. Love could be on different kinds altogether. When you wake up,
You have a lovely time walking out into the park. Nature. But you walk into the park, it will be a wonder. It will help you out in the morning. And then you come back to your sort of comfort zone. You are in your room. You lock your room up, and then you get yourself ready. and then you dress yourself up, you get ready, and then you go to work. You find a brilliant co-worker of an opposite sex. Try to and just lunch, and then you
Yeah, that's okay. Understanding the conditions that we are in. The Sergeant at Arms Toastmaster Shreyas dressed so appropriately for the meeting. I think that as a dashing person, I think started out well, spoke about love. But one thing, Shreyas, you could improve. We are speaking about love, right? We don't need to refer notes. It should come out, right? I think you can take that feedback. But the way you're dressed and the way you presented and introduced the president, Ayyappa, very well done. Good job done. At the President Toastmaster, that how certain circumstances changed. That he brought it out very well, and it shows that how important it is to love the near and dear ones. Yes, there are circumstances which we go through different stages in life, but at the end of the day, we need to love the people around us. So he brought out that statement well, and he handed over to the Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Mahavir. I'll come back to him later. Before that, let's go back and start with the evaluation session first. Today's evaluation for the speaker, Toastmaster Akhilesh. Can we welcome Joe's Paul to the stage?
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and Toastmaster Akhilesh in particular. Okay, there you are. You use the word acronym rather, PPF to deliver your speech, so I thought I would use the same to give my evaluation of your speech. Now, the first P stands for presentation. Of course, this may also, it's a coincidental that it's the same word that you used. Now, this presentation is about the delivery of your speech. That you came here well dressed, and I admire that part of it because you have taken efforts to present yourself well. So that's wonderful, and you really looked enchanting today to give your speech. Then your introduction, I think you were very confident, and the incident that you narrated here helped connect the audience with you instantly. So that was very good, the way you did that. And you got the attention of the audience immediately. Another aspect was the vocal variety. I think the tones, volume, all were very apt, and you were very clear. And you seemed very calm. And I think that was very well done. And the confidence that you projected, because using an acronym in just your second speech, I think was a very bold move, and that really projected your confidence, and you had humor in your speech. I think that was wonderful. So that also gave a very confident feeling. And the timing, you took about a little more than 6.5 minutes. I think it was well timed. So we could really get what you were trying to tell, and without any rush, and you ended speaking very well. So that was wonderful. And the second piece, I would say, was is purposeful. That is the message or the content part of the speech. I think it was very helpful and relevant for Toastmasters, because you had a lot of messages for the budding Toastmasters, or even experienced Toastmasters who have the habit of procrastinating giving their speeches. So I think that was very good, and the importance of preparation, presentation, feedback, I think you emphasized it very well. So that was very well done. And the F is the feedback that you have to apply in your next speech. One thing I noticed was you had this very pertinent gesture that is with the left hand. Maybe you can pay some attention and see that you can possibly see that in the video and correct yourself there. And another suggestion is when you have something like speech with PPF, so you could use different parts of the stage for the first P, 1 second, and the F in another place. So that would have given some correct and purposeful movement. And that's it. I think you did relatively well. And Akhilesh, I think you can go back home and tell your wife that you gave a blockbuster speech. Oh, the best for you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jose. I think he's done a very good evaluation and he's just giving you a recommendation that what you need to improve. I'm sure you're going to take those points. It's important for a Toastmaster as an evaluator need to give a recommendation. A single recommendation also helps you to improve for the next round. Okay, I'm sure you're going to come here next time. Smash it out. Okay, all the best for your next speech. For the evaluator, I would like to call upon the evaluator for the speech number 2, Toastmaster Mahesh Shankar, if you could come to the stage and present the evaluation.
Good evening, General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and Guru in particular. Whenever you come on stage, I know for sure it would be an enchanting speech because there is always something as a takeaway. Today's speech, I found you were very confident. You knew what exactly the topic is all about because it seemed quite evident that you are very good in communication styles. You covered all the 4 communication styles, namely the direct, initiative, analytical, and supportive. You started off first with the connect with your family as a communication, and then you moved on to your work, which basically talks about how you grew in your organization, right from being an influencer or initiative, then moving on to being an analytical, and then eventually as a supportive. You covered all the aspects of it, and basically that proves how you are using different communication styles to mark an edge over your growth. Well done. Now, if you want to work on what I would like, what basically I was looking for one communication style, which is very evident, which is what it talks about guru in particular. That was something which was missing because initially when even the TMOD mentioned about about your family, I thought you would be talking about different communication styles with your family and how you are really connecting with them. That really builds a story, and everyone in this call would really want to see what is that communication style I know Guru is known for. That was something which was missing. So if you can really think about it and come in your next speech with what your style is, which is quite evident. But when it comes to your family as well as friend, you said that it is direct. A direct communication style is more as a bossy, according to me. I felt you were wanting to mention that it is more authentic with your family, with your friend. You are really grounded. You really are so honest that when you talk to them, you are connected. So to me, it was more about authentic style of your communication with your close ones. That is something, a small piece which I at least took it as a takeaway. Now, how you want to challenge in your next speech? You are very loud and clear that everyone knows about it. I know as well. But you can bring some vocal variety, some kind of a modulation that would really help because you have that throughput. So you can actually do that. That's one. And also another piece here is I've seen many speeches and also in this, you always come on stage and you stand on edge and then you move back. And many a times you thump, the sound of the leg, like your foot is very evident. You can avoid that and you can use the different space in the stage as well. So that is something which I will give a thought. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mahesh. Pretty much well covered the whole evaluation. But again, as an evaluator, we give an opinion about a speech. Okay, it's his opinion, but that's what for you to take and improve upon, Guru. For the next speech, we have the Toastmaster Abhay Kutare giving his feedback for Rajdeep's.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and our podcast creator,
Story Glory, Dr. Rajdeep Mamani. Every year, ladies and gentlemen, there is a game played. A game that is played between the Swiss and the Chinese. Every year, the Swiss manufacture 30 million precision watches. And every year, the Chinese manufacture 40 million fake Swiss watches. Every year, the Swiss add another complication. Every year, they make an improvement in their machinery. And every next year, the Chinese try to play catch. And that is exactly what happened today. Every time Dr. Rajdeep Manwani comes on stage, he adds another complication, he adds another improvement, he adds another precision into the way we speak on stage or the way we define public speaking at Bangalore Toastmasters. And for today's podcast or the speech that Dr. Rajdeep delivered as a podcast, he did a very unique thing by turning off the lights to make us focus on the one thing that you would focus when you're listening to a podcast, his voice. His such wonderful voice, the way he used tonality, the way he used pace, the way he used modulation to define characters, to define the context. If you observe Dr. Rajdeep's speech very carefully, he built characters on only a few things where you could imagine and make a picture in your head. He did not use too much, nor too little, only enough for you to build a picture. So that's one of the 4 C's of storytelling, which is creating the context. He added various characters into the speech. He added dialogue, he added voice modulation, he added pitch, and he created characters for us to enjoy the podcast, for us to enjoy the story. The third thing that he did really well was creating a conflict. Now, every story has to have a conflict. Now, who remembers the conflict in Dr. Rajdeep's story? Exactly. So he created that conflict so well that it kept us engaged all through. It kept us at the edge of our seat about what is going to really happen to this character. Where is this love story going? Because we've all seen 100 different love stories in 1,000 different movies. But this was certainly very unique. And one of the abilities Dr. Rajdeep has is to pick up the right stories for the right moment and connect them in such a way that we're all enchanted by the way he tells his stories. So, Dr. Rajdeep, thank you so much for that. And he also gave an amazing, amazing conclusion. So that's the 4th C of storytelling, the conclusion. So the context, character, conflict, and the conclusion about teaching us how love is really has to be patient for us to go ahead. Now, in terms of technicality, in terms of storytelling, there's very little that I can probably advise the great from. But Dr. Rajdeep, today's is only, you just saw that this is only the deviation from your perfect machinery of watchmaking or storytelling today. And that's the only point I had for you. Over to you, Dr. Jennifer.
Tell you one thing. Thank you so much, Abhay. Abhay's idea to switch off the lights, so it doesn't belong to me. Thank you so much, Abhay, for that wonderful idea.
Thank you, Toastmaster Abhay Kotari, for that wonderful feedback and the way you covered the whole talk about Rajdeep's podcast. I think there are some things which have to be secret. Let it be secret, and it was really good. It was the thought that Abhay got that idea, switching off the lights. But those are secrets. Let it be die with you. It should not be known to others. Vijay. Okay, coming back to the Toastmaster the day, Mahavir started the day with asking people, what do you mean about love? What is love? And speak to the person sitting next to you. How's you? What about your love? He started pretty well on a high note, but somewhere down I felt that he went a bit low and he didn't get the attention that was required for that. I think Mahavir, for these kind of stages, when you ask people certain things, ask them to respond, your energy level should high. You could improve. The other things, I think the way you transition from one speech to the other speech, from one speaker to the other speaker was very good. The introduction of each of the speakers was very good. And yeah, you kept on time. Let's finish the meeting on time also. So I think you paced out the meeting very well. That's a good point of it. And you have also the other point which I want you to improve on looking at scheduling when we are having our Toastmasters meeting, right? The agenda, as you are the host of the show, the master of ceremony, the most important person of the thing. I think you need to have the people, the role takers appropriately fixed before the meeting. Let's not have a surprise. And I'm sure there are ways, there are a lot of times people do miss it, but I inform everybody about this is the change. So generally valid, I think. Other than that, I think you've done a great job. Good job done. A round of applause. We had a 10-minute break when we had our table topic master. Aaron come, I think you could be here for the first time. Oh, what a wonderful way. It was done. A wonderful way. Your objective, you met your own objective. Your objective was to have people smile. And we all smiled. And the way you introduced the table topic session, it made things very smart. Theme of love, and you kept all your topics on the theme of love. And you got the responses from everybody. That's a wonderful job done by you. There's one thing which you would like to improve is, this is your stage. You need to hand over the stage to the others when they come, and you need to take it back. You just moved out of the stage. You called the people, you just moved out. That's not the way. It's your stage. You own the stage. And then hand it over and then take it back. Don't let the stage be empty. That's one thing I think you will learn over a period of time, and I'm sure next time you want to take care of that. That's the only feedback which I want to give it to you. And my team, I like the Toastmaster Kirtana to give her count of as an up-counter.
Good evening once again, all of you. Let's start with the speakers. Toastmaster Akhilesh, 4 hours. Toastmaster Guru, 2 short pauses. BTM Rajdeep Manwani sir, none. Let's go to the evaluators. Toastmaster Joshpal, 8 hours. Toastmaster Mahesh Shankar, 1 hour. Toastmaster Abhay Kotari, 2 hours. Moving on to the role takers. TMOD, Toastmaster Mahavi, 2 short pauses. Toastmaster Table Topic Master, Toastmaster Aaron, 6 hours. And General Evaluator, till now, 1 short pause and 5 hours. Table Topic Speakers, Toastmaster Alok, was your repetitive word. Toastmaster Jainam, 1 hour, and was repetitive word. Toastmaster Kamlesh, 2 hours. Chetan, guest, 2 hours. Martin, 2 hours. Toastmaster Kamlesh, Toastmaster Karnakar, and Toastmaster Vijayana, 0. And Toastmaster Puneet, 1 short pause and 5 arms. Toastmaster Achyuta, 0. Toastmaster Ankit, 2 hours. That's it. Thank you.
And next on line for the time was treated. Come and give your report.
Good evening, Toastmasters once again. Meeting started at 6:31 and Shreyas took 3 minutes. President about 6 minutes. Kamlesh 1 minute. And Mahavir first. Akhilesh took 6 minutes 40 seconds. And Guru Prasad took 6 minutes 20 seconds. And Rajdeep sir took 11 minutes. And the evaluators, Joshua took 3 minutes 15 seconds. Mahesh took 3 minutes 8 seconds. And Abhay took 3 minutes 28 seconds. And all the table topics were within the limit. Achyuta, he spoke for 40 seconds.
Thank you, Toastmasters. Evaluation has been open and the code is same 4 months. So I call upon the listener of the meeting and
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and esteemed guests, let us see how much you have listened today. We all know a good speaking is contradicting to good listening. Am I correct? No. Yes. First question, when I ask question, you have to raise the hands, and I will see who is raising the hand first will be going to answer. As per today's Sergeant at Arms, how did our president propose his love? How did our president propose his love as per Sergeant at Arms? Yes, Martin.
Using a bouquet of the most beautiful flowers.
Correct. Second question. What is the present age of a president's father? 85. Okay. So Martin 1, Vijayananda. B. Today's MC's age when he joined the Bangalore Toastmasters Club. 18. No, first was Vijayananda. Okay. Vijayananda 2 points, Martin 1. We'll see now. Okay. As per speech title of Akhilesh, apart from evaluator, speech title of Toastmaster Akhilesh. Yes, Srijit. This is minus 1. Learn and grow. Minus 1. Minus 1. Minus 1. Minus 1 you told me. PTF. Minus 1. Okay. Now, Toastmaster Guru's fan, other than Guru and his evaluator. Toastmaster Guru's fan. Sai Kumar. She's the first. She answered. I was thinking. Chetna 1, Martin 1. He has got 2 points. Minus 2.
What is it?
No, minus 1. Okay. Now, other than Dr. Rajdeep's evaluator, he himself should answer. His podcast name.
Story and
You did not raise your hand, Mr. Alok. So point goes to Puneet. Now I will tell the role, who's the artist or who's the hero, and you have to tell the name. Hero of podcast of Dr. Rajdeep Panwani. Yes? Charles, you have a good name, please. Akshay. 111. You are 2, sir. Farmer's name. Yes.
Robin.
Yeah, he has already said. Kamlesh. All I want to you. Judge's name. Judge. He puts the deep voice. Wow, what a beautiful voice it was. Like a judge of California. Judge, no, Smith. Smith was judge. What was?
Smith was
Who said is minus 1? You got? Then
yeah.
3 points. You are right. This is what I checked. 3 points. I wanted to check your capacity. Tell me what was Karunaka's table topic? Karunaka's table topic.
What is the perfect date? What is the perfect idea of a date?
No, he said. Kamlesh.
2 points.
Some physical gift will be there next. storytelling. 4 C's of storytelling. Yes, Vijay.
Context.
Yes.
Conflict and possibility.
Woo! Woo!
Thank you, Teresa. Thanks for bringing up the spirits of the meeting, and that was a lively one, enchanting one, I could say. At this point, I would like to call upon the grammarian Toastmaster Achyuta. I think this is one of the most important role I feel in Toastmasters about grammar, where I'm sure we can improve on our mistakes and how. Okay, so Toastmaster.
Good evening again. So it was an enchanting meeting in the sense that there were not many grammatical errors, but I did find a few. So here they are. Diagnosed for could be diagnosed with. A icebreaker is an icebreaker. Grown could have been grew in the context. Works me a lot could be worked for me a lot. What thing is most important could have been what the most important thing is. And the word of the day was used 12 times by Toastmaster Vijayana, by Toastmaster Makan, by Toastmaster Mahavir, by Toastmaster Adam, by Toastmaster Alok, by Toastmaster Jose Paul, by Toastmaster Mahesh, and Toastmaster Abhay Kotari.
So wasn't it not an enchanting meeting?
Yes.
I think as the theme says love, I think we need to love ourselves more so that we can radiate that love to people around us. With that thought, I would like to hand over the meeting to the president of the to the Toastmaster Mahavir Jain.
Thank you so much, Toastmasters and guests. All the members, can you please check your WhatsApp? You would have the message and the voting for the best role taker one, and just the voting link is 111, no 4 ones. Very much doing this up for a long time. So have fun. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. President.
Ladies and gentlemen, did you all enjoy the meeting? Applause to Toastmaster Mahavir for taking us through something so great. Okay, I'd like to thank Toastmaster Umakant for coming to the long time. I would like to thank Toastmaster Sureka for treating us with such a wonderful chickies and sandwich. Thank you so much, ma'am. I forgot to introduce the guests. I request all the guests to stand up. I should have done it in the beginning. Of course, you are a guest. Just one line about the introduction.
My name is Martin and I'm pursuing my MSc in physics.